Hello and welcome to another edition of the Coach's Corner, where each and every Thursday evening, myself and on occasion Coach Dave Serrano, who is busy with Johnson University this time of year, we take the time to reach out and speak with college coaches across the country so that we can learn a little bit about not only their athletic program, but their university as well. And so today I'm really excited for us to be able to talk Big 12, which is a huge part of the what we now refer to as Power Four, P4 conferences, located Waco, Texas, Baylor University, and a graduate of Baylor, as well as a recruiting coordinator, assistant coach at Baylor, Zach Dillon. Zach, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, this has been something in the making, and I really want to take the time. We don't get a lot of opportunities, and I'm trying to focus a little bit on the Big 12. And I was wondering if we could start with the Waco area. I mean, Texas is a huge state, but what makes Baylor such a special place for the collective college experience?
Well, I think first and foremost, you're talking about the world's largest Baptist institution in the country and the oldest institution of higher learning in the state of Texas. We sit right in the middle of the state of Texas. About an hour and a half south of Dallas, an hour and a half north of Austin. Just in a really good market for high school baseball and a place where kids can come get a first class education, faith based education, and play big time college athletics.
Now, you're as a graduate, you kind of offer a unique perspective. Yes, you were a baseball player, but at the same time, you were able to experience the changes from high school and becoming a young man, going through the college experience. Tell us a little bit about you as a coach, a mentor, as well as Coach Thompson, with regard to the emphasis on development of the entire athlete as opposed to just the baseball athlete.
Yeah, and that's a big piece for us is the player development model, but essentially the person is at the forefront of that. We want to bring guys in as 18-year-old kids and have them leave here as 21, 22-year-old men. And that's been the model for 30 years under Mitch and everything he did for me and how he's, you know, essentially been by my side every step of the way since I left this program. And not only him, but I give Coach Smith a lot of credit for that as well, who was our head coach at the time, and Coach Jonigan. Baylor baseball for a long period of time has really been a family atmosphere, and for a long period of time had a great deal of success. And that's what we're back here to do. Obviously, winning's at the forefront of everybody's mind, but at the same time, we believe in developing the whole person here at Baylor University.
We talk a lot, and I talk a lot. We parents, SEC, ACC, a little bit of the Big Ten. Very rarely do we have the opportunity to talk Big 12. And I would love for you to talk about the universities that make up the Big 12, and your conference competition is, as strong, if not stronger, to some degree, with regard to the weekend after weekend. You are facing athletes and coaching staffs that are elite within the sport of baseball. Talk us through a little bit about the Big 12 conference.
Yeah, and obviously with some change with Oklahoma and Texas stepping away, but at the same time, we get to bring in great, prideful baseball programs in the University of Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Cincinnati and BYU the year prior. So, and Central Florida, programs that, for a long time have had a lot of success. And the inclusion of West Virginia and what Coach Mazey was able to do there, and I'm sure will be continued. You're really talking about a league that has had a ton of success over a 25-year period, and there are no off weekends right now. Kansas State and Kansas have done a great job with their programs. We obviously all know the history and tradition of TCU, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and obviously University of Houston as well. So, top to bottom, the league presents a lot of challenges. From a recruiting landscape, now we've got a lot of people from way outside of our state coming into our state and having the ability to attract Texas talent, which which presents another challenge to us. With all the great schools here in the state of Texas, now we've got an inclusion of all the other Big 12 programs able to come in here and be able to attract Texas kids.
I try to get parents to understand, and you just really wrapped it up for me there. But Big 12 is coast to coast. You're going from Arizona, prestigious, historic athletic baseball programs in Arizona State, Barry Bonds, Arizona, Chip Hale, former big leaguer, now manager, and then all the way over to West Virginia and Central Florida. So you got a lot of coverage with regard to recruiting. Want to remind parents, for anything and everything pertaining to Baylor, you can find that information in the Baseball Blue Book app in the Apple Store, Google Store, anything to do with camps, scheduling of games, conference games, et cetera. You can find that in the Blue Book app, and I encourage you to download that and take a look into Baylor baseball. Zach, I want to talk to you a little bit about recruiting, because a lot of times parents, athletes will say, well, geez, Baylor's in Texas. That's a huge state. They don't have to go outside the state of Texas, to find athletes. But that's not the case with regard to recruiting in today's baseball landscape. So can you share a little bit about what makes a Baylor potential student athlete attractive in your eyes as a staff, as well as are you recruiting across the country?
Yeah, I think Baylor's a unique place, and we are recruiting across the country, and that's happened, over a period of 30 years. I'm a Des Moines, Iowa kid that, obviously Mitch saw me play in 2000, in the year 2000 at the area code games, and was able to attract me, one, because I'm a Catholic kid from the Midwest, and faith-based education was important to me. A good degree was important to me, and with Baylor being what I believe a top 25 degree in the country, so those two things right away drew me to a place that I had never really even thought about or heard of. And obviously I hadn't been in the state of Texas in my life until my official visit to Baylor. So I think the big separator for Baylor University is its people. There's great people at this university from top to bottom, in the athletic department, on campus. The interactions you're going to have and the relationships and the network you're going to build here are really important for everybody moving forward out of this place. And I think it's a place that sticks with you for, the next 40 or 50 years of your life.
I get a lot of questions from parents, obviously student athletes as well. What does it take for the high school athlete today? We all get lost in the portal, and they're going to bring portal guys in. The high school athlete is lost. But from a skill set and a mindset perspective, what do student athletes at the high school level need to understand when their feet hit campus? What do they need to be doing in order to compete with those older student athletes, both from a transfer perspective as well as a upperclassman perspective?
Yeah, from an underclassman, from a high school kid coming in, I think understanding the physicality of the game, and I think our game, really from the big leagues all the way into the amateur level, is it the best it's ever been from a physicality and skill set standpoint. I think our game has poured a lot in at the amateur level to training and developing skill. I think where we've fallen short is maybe some of the instinctual gameplay. A lot of our practice at the amateur level now is geared towards individual skill and not as much, baseball instincts and feel for the game and understanding situational baseball. I think there's a level of maturity that needs to be present. I think there's a level of self-belief and confidence that needs to be present with guys. And I think, an environment and a culture can create some stability with players and allow them to feel confident with where they're at and give them an opportunity to grow. I think a lot of places now kids show up, and I have a unique, perspective because I worked in travel baseball 6 years prior to doing this and had been in college baseball prior. So, I'm kind of in my second stint in college baseball, and the game certainly has changed. But I think a lot of the high school guys coming in now understand that, they're in the fire right away and they've got to perform. So the pressure to do that right away as an 18-year-old kid at some of the places where that fire is really hot it's a challenging, first semester for a lot of those guys and first year, and some of them aren't ready to handle it the right way because they're not quite ready as a player, or they're not mature enough, or they're just not geared to handle that kind of pressure and adversity really for the first time in their life with what they perceive as a ton on the line.
I want to, and I want parents to understand. Not only has Coach Zach been involved with travel ball, he was also at the community college level. He's been in the Big Ten. He's played minor league baseball, professional baseball, and one could argue that Double A baseball is literally where you're. It's the elite of the elite players that get to that funnel for the first time out of A ball, where there's a couple of A ball teams. And I think this is a really great question for you specifically, Zach, and that is competition. A lot of parents, a lot of student athletes, oh, they have 4 second basemen already. They have 4 out center fielders already. I'm never going to get the opportunity. You can speak to this because you've played it and you've coached it. Can you explain competition and why it's healthy, not only when you're facing opposition, but more importantly, within your own program? Talk about that a little bit and how it's healthy for the development of an individual student athlete as well as a team.
Yeah, there's really no question, and there's no supplement for it. From a coaching standpoint, the best thing you can do is create internal competition, and a lot of times that takes a lot of guys with a lot of ability being around each other and challenging each other. Because at the end of the day, when we make the lineup out, only 9 of them get to play. And that's tough for the high school guy that's been the star everywhere he's ever been, and the parents, their perspective is he's great because he has been, and he has been the best player on every team he's ever played for. I will tell you this: when I went to the 12 program in Houston, and we were able to start attracting the best players in the state of Texas and put them together, that's when you really saw the 15 to 18-year-old kids start to take off. And we had some guys make some really big jumps during their high school career because of who they were around, not necessarily the coaching or instruction they got, but being able to put them in a situation where, well, I think I'm the best shortstop in the state. Well, the other 2 are right next to you. So who is the best shortstop in the state? And all those guys were able to elevate their games. And you talk about guys like Jace Lavallee, was in that program, and Max Blue played right next to him in right field. He was a Big 12 Player of the Year for Texas last year. Just high level guys that I think were ready for college baseball because of what they participated in at the high school level. And not only who was with them, but who they were playing against. I tried to create schedules where we were going to play against players equal or better than them. So, my whole goal at that level for those type of kids was to have them step foot on campus and be ready to go as freshmen. And, for some it worked out great, and for others, they're still fighting through the process. But this deal is a journey for all of them, and the best advice I would have for parents in that is, if you're going to play Division I college baseball at any level, when you step foot on campus, there's going to be other guys that are as good or better than your son. And it's your son's job to go chase them down and catch them and excel, at the highest level they can, and I think all parents and a lot of players get caught up in the comparison game, and it's really not about that. It's about maximizing, your potential and chasing that every day.
Well, there's no one better that I can think of to ask this question, and I want to kind of piggyback on that competition level. When you're a college athlete, and more importantly, those that aspire to play beyond college at the professional level, we hear the word grind. We see high school athletes talking about grind. Parents will always say, my son's a grinder. Can you explain that college baseball, unlike high school, really doesn't have, they have an in-season and off-season, but it's 11 months a year of college baseball for the most part. And then also subsequently, when you go into professional baseball, playing 140 to 160 games over the spring training. But my point of this question is, can you explain to parents and athletes the mental and physical discipline of time management and why that is a massive learning curve for the high school athlete entering into college?
Yeah, it's really everything, and that goes into the maturity piece I was talking about earlier with the high school kids coming in. It's really their first time out on their own. A lot of them, because they were a star athlete, at the high school level, depending on the high school, had a lot of things handled for them, whether it be from their parents or teachers or coaches, and all of a sudden they have all these responsibilities, and you know the time it takes to go to class, to get treatment, to go to study hall, to go to practice. The strength and conditioning program is the most challenging they've ever endured. You start piecing all those things together and you throw it all on top of them at once, and it can lead to some down times for those guys. I say it all the time. Everybody thinks they want to do this, until it gets real, and then you find out who really wants to do it and who can be disciplined enough, who can be accountable enough on a daily basis to take care of their business, to get enough rest, to get their sleep, to stay hydrated, to take care of their nutrition. It's a 24/7 commitment, to being their best and to maximize their potential and get to their ceiling. And, the guys that are most consistent, off the field typically are the most consistent guys on the field. So, that's a huge part of the learning curve, I think, for the 18 or 19-year-old freshman that's coming in. And I think the quicker a guy figures that out, the quicker he can have on-field success.
One of the topics that I don't think gets discussed enough with regard to recruiting, particularly at the college baseball level, is the strength piece. In other words, a lot of schools at the high school level, they have a weight room and they may or may not have a coach in the weight room. But we talk about strength, we talk about physicality, but we don't talk about the reason why that's needed. In other words, a lot of guys go on a recruiting visit, they look around, they don't see that weight room piece in action, at 6 a.m. and talk about why that is an integral part of the developmental process, strength training, being able to be ready and prepared to compete against men from a strength perspective, as you just alluded to, requires sleep, hydration, nutrition. There's a lot more than just going into the weight room and banging out some weights. Can you talk about that as a necessity for the development of the athlete that is trying or aspires to be a part of the Baylor baseball program?
Well, yeah, I think first and foremost, physical strength is a game changer. I don't think we would have had the steroid era if it wasn't, right? So from a performance standpoint, physical strength, mobility, conditioning, all those things tie into performance. But the holistic approach of having your body prepared to endure a season, whether that be at the college level where, you could max out at 70 games or the professional level where you're going to play 162 or however many the guys in the playoffs are playing right now. Having your body in top physical shape to be able to maintain and perform at a high level for the duration of a season is imperative. I think one of the big changes for a high school kid is they may train really hard for 2 or 3 months in the winter, but as soon as the spring season starts, they shut down the weight room. Well, the highest level of the game, we're not shutting down the weight room. We're lifting as we go, and we're training as we go. And I think that's a big change for the young guys. We get done with a 8-inning inter squad yesterday, and the first thing we do is go to the weight room, at 6 o'clock last night. So, and the structure within the weight room and the accountability and discipline that's in the weight room is different. We're on time, and, we're getting our reps in and we're getting our sets in at the proper weight. We're not taking any shortcuts. All those things are an adjustment, because human nature says most of us that have trained with a personal trainer at the high school level or trained on our own, human nature says, well, I don't need to do that today because I just did all this. Well, not necessarily at this level. So, developing the toughness and the mindset to fight through all of that and be able to get through the other side is a big deal to player development, in my opinion. And guys learning that, in their first semester here is sometimes a challenge. But the ones that can do it and can stick to it, and they can stick to it over a 3 or 4 year college career, they're definitely well suited and well prepared for professional baseball.
We get a lot of talk in today's world about the role of the high school athlete, whether it's it's diminishing, they're getting overrun with the portal. Talk a little bit about your philosophy or Baylor's philosophy with regard to the potential high school recruit. Tell me a little bit about what it takes to get or capture the attention of a Baylor coaching staff, and where does the high school athlete fall within your recruiting plans?
They're at the forefront of it. We don't believe you can build any continuity, stability, or culture the other way. So we will continue to recruit high school kids. We will continue to bring in high school classes. Obviously, with the roster limitations, you can't put yourself in a situation where you're too young and you're counting on too many freshmen being on the field for you. But the only way to create culture and continuity and continued success over a period of time is to do it through the high school ranks. We also feel like right now, our best appeal is with the high school kid. Baylor University is a draw to a high school player. Whereas, a program that hasn't had success in the last 5 or 6 years may not be the transfer portal guy's number one choice, so there's a balance of that. Obviously we're going to need to utilize the portal at times to fill in spots we feel like we have immediate needs at, but we are certainly going to try to build this thing through the high schools, and we're well on our way. We just got kind of our first recruiting class with the 24s in since we've been back. We feel really good about our 25 class, and we're off to a great start with our 26s. So that's how this program was built the first time around. You can argue that the game has changed and everything has changed, but at the same time, if you bring kids in that believe in you, that you've built relationships with, that want to be coached by you, and you're not consistently turning your roster over year after year, I think that can lead to longevity of success for sure.
And final question, how do you specifically, or how does the staff at Baylor, how should a potential high school recruit contact you? Is it the social media with the video? Is it the personal email with the transcript? How do you prefer to be contacted as a staff by either a summer coach, a high school coach, or directly from a student athlete?
Yeah, I think, for a guy like me that's on the move quite a bit, the best way is probably through social media or text message from a travel coach or a high school coach. I do like video. I think that grabs attention a lot quicker than anything else. But video from the player or from whoever's talking on their behalf. And typically, it's a relationship driven industry, so I'm way more apt to listen about a player from somebody I trust and know, and I think that's probably the best way.
Well, I want to say thank you very much, Zach. It's been a great opportunity to get to speak with you. I think parents are genuinely opening up from out of their greater, area of residence. And, Baylor University has always been a historic part of the Big 12 in all sports, not just baseball. And I know that you, as a graduate of Baylor, take great pride in the uniform and potential recruits that you're going out and recruiting. But thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today.
It was awesome. Thanks for having me on.
And parents, I want to let you know, anything and everything to do with Baylor baseball is going to be located in the Blue Book app. It's brand new, all recently renovated, available in the App Store, Google, Apple. Strongly encourage you to download that app, upload your profiles on all your social media platforms, as well as your video and transcripts. Get your create an awareness for your student athlete through the Baseball Blue Book. And thank you very much for taking the time to join me today.
Thanks again.